Have you guys seen a movie called The Hills Have Eyes? For me, it's one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's set in this really, really creepy American town. Like, super quiet, super eerie, like everybody like there. I don't want to spoil it, but it is just an extremely creepy place. And this video here, because I'm someone who's looking to move to America someday, I'd like to know where the creepiest places are in America so that, I can know to avoid them.
Are you one of those people that search things like the creepiest places, most haunted towns, or most dangerous places? If you said yes, today's video, the creepiest places in the United States, is your cup of tea. These are places that are creepy, just feel creepy, or maybe are just rumored to be haunted. So draw the blinds, get a drink, and settle in for the creepiest places in the United States.
Let's go. Dudley Town.
13, Dudleytown, Connecticut. Can an entire town be cursed, or did Dudleytown just have the worst luck imaginable and 0 Yelp reviews to warn people about this place? Tucked awkwardly between rolling hills and a forest that seems to resent human presence, this tiny Connecticut settlement managed to speed run to disaster after being founded in 1747. Insanity, people pushing their own off button, murders, and assorted nighttime horrors piled up faster than excuses to move away. Dudleytown, technically a forgotten fragment of Cornwall, became famous for going wrong in every possible direction. Some blame the surrounding dark entry forest, a place so dim it seems the sun only works part-time here.
I mean, any forest called Dark Entry Forest, if that's not a sign for you to not go there, I don't know what is. Dark Entry Forest.
Others point to rumors that the land once served as a Native American burial site for the Mohawk people, because nothing says great place to raise a family like unsettled ground and ominous silence. Skeptics argue that it was just a bad location. Poor soil, harsh living conditions, and the general chaos of early American life. Fair point. But even by frontier standards, Dudleytown was aggressively unlucky. At its peak, the town housed just 26 families, yet people disappeared, snapped, or died at a rate that feels statistically personal. They had it all: mysterious strangers showing up in town, unidentifiable creatures emerging from the forest. These are all stories that have circulated for generations. Dudleytown perfected the art of making people leave and never clarifying why. Now, the final nail in the coffin for Dudleytown happened in about 1918. There was a doctor named William Clark who had purchased the land back around 1900. His house became a holiday home for himself and his wife. Then one summer night in 1918, he had to go to New York for some kind of business. When he returned 36 hours, his wife was a mess. She had seen a creature come out of the woods and she was freaked out. Soon after his return, she pushed her own off button. He remarried and stayed there till his death in 1943. And the really strange thing, it's still off limits. Trespassing is strictly prohibited, and the police actually patrol it to make sure nobody goes in there.
Dude, I mean, okay, fair enough. Yeah, Dudleytown, I don't think you'll be seeing me anytime soon. That guy who his wife did that and then he stayed and remarried there, I would have left that town, wouldn't you?
12, Stull, Kansas. Stull is small enough to slip past unnoticed. A few buildings, open land, and a road that doesn't invite stopping. In daylight, it looks like a normal town, probably a little bit boring, which makes the unease harder to explain. Nothing here seems out of the ordinary, but people show up already tense, like their instincts are way ahead of their logic. Now, the reputation for this place comes from the cemetery. The cemetery's spooky, and there's all kinds of stories that go with it. It's got all kinds of cool names, too. It's been called the Seventh Gate of Hell, the Cemetery of the Damned, and the Devil's Court. Stull was founded by Pennsylvania Dutch settlers that were heading west. They built a church on the top of this little hill, and a cemetery grew around it. Eventually, the church was just the center of this bigger cemetery. Next to that church, there's this giant spooky tree, and at some point, someone had carved the words witch in there. Now, a lot of people think they had witch trials here because that was kind of the thing they did back then. Underneath that tree is an old wooden cross that is over a small grave site. It is said inside that grave is Satan's child. Legend has it this was a half man, half-wolf creature that a local woman gave birth to, and he was kept in the cellar of the old church and just fed scraps of food. Well, when he was about 10 years old, he escaped one night and terrorized the town, going on an 11-month killing spree. When he was finally killed by a local farmer, they buried him under the tree.
Dude, what the hell, man? I mean, not saying that I believe the story about the half boy, half wolf, but I mean, usually there's no smoke without fire. I mean, do you guys think that there was this half boy, half wolf? I don't know what to think.
11. Gary, Indiana. Now, this one is a little bit strange because it's not really haunted per se. There are some haunted spots in Gary, Indiana, but what makes this place so creepy, it's empty. There's so many empty buildings, abandoned buildings, vacant lots, nobody walking around downtown. It almost feels like this city has been paused in mid-collapse.
Wow.
It sort of reminds me of a post-apocalyptic place, you know? You're walking down a street that used to have cars and noise and stuff like that, and you can hear your own footsteps in a city in the United States. That's Gary, Indiana. It's creepy. Gary, Indiana itself, not the entire metro area, but the city itself at one point had 180,000 residents.
Wow.
In 2020, they had 69,000, and currently they're estimated to have less than 66,000.
Dude, so they've lost like 2/3 almost of their population, that city. So people are just like leaving in droves.
And their loss of people, it's not slowing down. Now, there are predictions and there's different reports, but I saw one that said by the 2030 census, they could be below 60,000 residents.
Wow.
That's kind of creepy.
Why though? Why? Why are people leaving in such a hurry? Like, because, I mean, to go from that, you know, 6-figure population, you would imagine there's lots of jobs there, you know, schools, all that good stuff. So why did people just suddenly start just running away?
10. Clarksdale, Mississippi. Blues history everywhere, economic collapse everywhere else. Music echoes louder than opportunity in Clarksdale. Clarksdale, Mississippi is considered haunted because of really one story, the legendary crossroads where blues musician Robert Johnson supposedly sold his soul to the devil for musical talent. This created an atmosphere rich in myth, music, and spooky stories, with echoes of this legend felt throughout the town and along Highway 61, even attracting horror movie settings. Not just that, they also make a reference to it in the George Clooney movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The story goes this young man was walking down the road and he was a struggling musician. Out of nowhere, another man appeared and offered him musical talents better than any other man. And on that dark night at that Mississippi crossroad, he said okay. And now if you go to Clarksdale, you get musical history and a bit of spookiness with it.
Wow. How does somebody like sell their soul to the devil though? Like, you know, how do you summon the devil? like is it like Batman where you put up a symbol up in the sky or what? Because you hear about these things all the time. So and so sold their soul for all this money. Like, I'm not sure if I believe it.
Number 9, Skidmore, Missouri. Now this one's interesting because all the creepiness here surrounds an unsolved murder that happened in front of almost 50 people, but nobody saw a thing. You see, the guy that was murdered was the local bully, Ken Rex McElroy. This guy had been arrested for a dozen or so felonies, including assault, some stuff I can't discuss on here, arson, animal cruelty, cattle rustling, and burglary.
So this guy was just an awful person, just an awful human.
In 1981, he shot a local grocer named Ernest Bowenkamp. He survived. McElroy was arrested and was released on bond, but he had an ongoing harassment campaign against Bowenkamp and others who were sympathetic to the grocer's cause, including the town's minister. While out on bail on June 30th, 1981, he appeared at a local bar with an M1 Garand rifle with a bayonet attached, and he threatened to kill Bowenkamp if he testified against him. Well, the next week, while sitting in his car with his wife, the town bully was shot and killed on Skidmore's main street. He was struck by bullets from at least 2 firearms in front of a crowd of people that was estimated to be between 30 and 46 people.
Oh my God.
Despite all the witnesses, everyone claimed they didn't see anything. That's some spooky stuff. The entire town of Skidmore, Missouri, which was about 450 people back in 1981, they were in on a murder.
That's insane. Nobody said anything. They all like played like deniability. They didn't see it. They don't know what happened. Wow. For a whole town of people to just come together and be like, nope, we're not gonna admit this happened is kind of weird.
Number 8, Nome, Alaska. Nome doesn't jump out at you like a haunted house with the lights off. It creeps in the way a long winter does. It sits on the edge of the Bering Sea, far from everything, with no roads connecting it to the rest of Alaska. That alone changes how the place feels.
No roads. How do people get there then? Have you got to literally fly in?
There's no casual escape, even though they do have a subway so you can get a sandwich. When you're in Nome, you're in it. Leaving requires a plane, cooperation from the weather, and a little luck. Landscape does much of the work. Flat tundra stretches outward with almost no landmarks. Just empty space meeting an even emptier sky. Fog rolls in off the sea, making it feel like the town is floating on nothing. In winter, darkness lingers for months. In summer, the sun refuses to leave. Both extremes mess with your sense of time, sleep, and normal human rhythm. Days blur together and nights don't feel like nights. That imbalance sticks with people. Yeah. Nome also carries the quiet weight of history. Gold Rush dreams slammed into the Arctic reality here, and a lot of people lost more than money. Old buildings, rusting equipment, and half-forgotten structures still dot the area. Reminders of ambition that froze in place. They don't feel preserved, they sort of feel just forgotten. Like someone meant to come back and they just never did. You can have isolation in a lot of different places, but this one's a little bit different because it's so flat and the environment is so harsh. Sound travels differently when everything is open and frozen. Winds howl without obstruction. Sea cracks and shifts. In the distance, there's nothing to soften noise or provide context, so your brain fills in gaps it shouldn't. Even people who don't believe in anything supernatural.
Oh my God, yeah, because there's nothing there. There's no sound. You'll start hearing things and seeing things. Oh my God, this is crazy.
Admit the silence feels heavy, not peaceful. Heavy. Nome isn't a jump scare. Nome is really just an unsettling endurance test.
If any of you guys live in any of these places, like, let me know if it's exaggerated, his descriptions, or is it valid? Like, does it literally feel like this? Did you maybe move away from one of these places?
Number 7, McCarthy, Alaska. McCarthy sits in a kind of beauty that feels excessive, like the land is showing off just to remind you how small you are. Mountains loom in every direction, not as scenery, but as walls. There's no casual horizon here, no comforting sense of distance. The road in is long, rough, and deliberate, which means everyone who arrives here has chosen to be this far removed from the world. That choice weighs on you once the novelty wears off. The isolation isn't romantic after a while. It's constant, inescapable, and quietly demanding. The town itself feels paused mid-sentence. Old mining buildings linger like unfurnished thoughts, weathered wood and rusted metal standing where industry once insisted it would last forever. These structures don't feel historic or curated. They feel forgotten on purpose. Living in McCarthy means learning that the environment doesn't care about you. The population is tiny, but the land feels enormous and indifferent, as if it would continue exactly the same whether you were there or not. That awareness settles in slowly. If you look at this place, you realize that people really shouldn't be living here. There's no reason for it unless they want to get away from people desperately.
Wow, it feels like that's one of those places where you need to be an outdoorsy type. You need to know how to hunt. You need to know how to butcher. You need to know how to hand wash your clothes. Like, it feels like that kind of level. Another Alaska place.
Number 6, Adak, Alaska. Adak, Alaska feels paused in another era. It's an abandoned military base surrounded by fog and ocean. This abandoned military base was once home for thousands of military personnel and their families. There are over 100 homes built here, and they only have about 100 people living there. Now, I've heard that there's only 50 of them that are permanently there, but around 150 throughout the year. What makes it so creepy is, A, the weather. It always rains and it just feels uncomfortable, and it's, again, quiet and isolated. The amount of abandoned homes here just, you have all these homes and once housed families, and then it's just quiet. There's only 50 people living here at certain parts of the year.
50.
with over 100 homes and a bunch of other buildings. Again, the isolation just drives people insane in some cases. The base shut down in the late 90s, and in March of 2003, most of the facilities had closed. Now, this is towards the tail end of the Aleutian Islands, and I think it's actually the last settlement. Adak was also the staging area for American and Canadian forces to take back 2 islands in the Aleutian chain that the Japanese had taken over in World War II. Yeah, the place has just creepy isolation.
Wow. Yeah, 50 people is just like... That's not a lot of people, man. That can fit in a big house. Like, that's the whole town. Wow. Could you do it? Could you do it? Could you live in a town of 50 people for a year? You can't ever leave for $1 million. I mean, that's kind of easy. For $500,000, would you do it? I probably would.
Number 5, Bombay Beach, California. Bombay Beach exists between collapse and creativity. Art installations stand next to decay. Dead fish line the shore of the Salton Sea. There's no clear future here, just people adapting to something that keeps deteriorating. The town feels like a long-term experiment with no control group. If you don't know about this, the Salton Sea is California's largest lake, and it was formed by accident. It was formed between 1905 and 1907 when the Colorado River overflowed irrigation canals, flooding this area. So California had a new lake and resort communities popped up, like Bombay Beach. As the lake started to dry up, they started seeing contamination numbers rise from the local agricultural places.
And then people left. All those beach resorts like shut down, I'm guessing.
This threw the chemistry off the lake, and the next thing you know, it had fish dying everywhere and all the shores, and it became a bird sanctuary, and it was just nasty all around. So what once was a resort town is now a husk of what it used to be. Dead fish, rusted out everything, and a whole bunch of weird people living on the edge of society.
Wow. New York? What?
Number 4, Love Canal, New York. Love Canal doesn't rely on folklore. Its history is documented, studied, and still unsettling. An environmental disaster permanently stained the name Love Canal. Even after the cleanup, the reputation lingers. The ground itself feels untrustworthy. Love Canal reminds people that some damage outlives the fix. Now, if you don't know what Love Canal is, it was a neighborhood in the Niagara Falls metro area of New York. There was a company there called the Hooker Chemical Company that was there from 1940 to 1952. And in 1942, they were looking to dump some chemical waste. They didn't know where to put it. So they approached the Niagara Power and Development Company, and they granted them permission to dump waste into the canal. The canal was drained and lined with thick clay. They figured that would keep the chemicals right there. Well, it didn't. Hooker started dumping 55-gallon drums into this canal.
Dude, what a terrible decision. Who made that decision? Awful.
5 years later, Hooker bought the canal and the 70-foot wide bank on either side of the canal. They then converted it into a 16-acre landfill. Well, the 1950s showed up, and so did a lot of people to the Niagara Falls metro area. They needed homes, so they built them on the landfill. For 20 years, families lived on this landfill in the new homes without a clue. And then some weird things started happening. People started showing up with all kinds of health concerns. After some tests and some studies, the neighborhood was evacuated by the government. By 1989, it had become a Superfund site, and the cleanup began. In 2004, federal officials announced that the Superfund cleanup had ended. The entire process occurred over 21 years and cost $400 million.
Woo.
Even though it was cleaned up, there's a fence around the area, and it's declared permanently off limits.
Imagine not knowing, like, you move your family there, your young kids, you live there, you breathe in all that awful stuff, drink the water, and you have no clue that you're just like poisoning yourselves. Like, it's just not fair. It's not fair. They should have been warned. They should have told them, okay, you're moving to this area. We've dumped a load of chemicals into the canal. You know, just make the people fully aware before they move there.
Number 3, Birmingham, Alabama. Following the Civil War, the United States was in need of pig iron. Birmingham's Sloss furnace needed to speed up production. In order to pick up the pace, a group of more than 100 workers led by a man named James Slag Wormwood worked the night shift in dangerous conditions. Now, working here was pretty much dangerous as it was. People were known for clocking in and never clocking out. And James Wormwood, who was a foreman, was known to be kind of cruel and a bully and kind of pushy. The story goes, one night, fed-up workers grabbed a hold of Slag Wormwood and threw him into one of the furnaces. Remaining workers claimed that they could feel his presence lingering. Many said they could feel him pushing them and screaming out orders to him.
Creepy.
Number 2, the Villisca Axe Murder House. Villisca, Iowa. Now this is a pretty tragic story. Back in 1912, a family with 2 young guests were asleep in their home when someone walked in their backyard, picked up an axe, and walked into the house. All 8 of the people in the house were murdered. The next morning, a neighbor noticed that the house was kind of quiet and dark for that time of the morning, so went over to see what was going on. And the house was locked up. Whoever did this locked the house when they left. She eventually got the police over to the house. They entered the house and found everyone dead. The murders were never solved. People have captured on tape several disembodied voices, moving objects, and slamming doors inside the house.
Oh my God, so it's like legitimately haunted.
Here's the weird thing. You could go spend the night there if you want. You just got...
Absolutely not. Would you spend the night there? Would you spend the night there for... I'll give you $200. You probably you're going to do it, aren't you? I'll give you $50 to do it. Would you spend the night there? Even though I don't believe in ghosts per se, just the vibes. I'd get a terrible night's sleep because I'll probably just be awake, just like looking around frantically.
To deal with some kids talking that aren't really there. Stuff like that.
What's number 1?
All right, before we get to number 1, if you've not subscribed to our channel, what are you waiting for? It's free. We'd appreciate it if you did. And you hit that little bell notification. That tells you when we upload it. All right, on to number 1.
Wyoming, Medicine Bow.
And number 1, Medicine Bow, Wyoming. Medicine Bow, Wyoming doesn't advertise itself as haunted. It doesn't need to. The town just sits there, wind scraping across the plains, daring you to notice what hasn't quite left yet. This place was built on pause. Train whistles that stopped blowing, footsteps that never got the memo, the kind of town where history didn't move on so much as it lied down and stared at the ceiling. The center of the unease is the Old Virginia Hotel, a railroad-era holdover that looks exactly like a haunted building should. Guests talk about a woman in beige, a figure seen drifting through hallways like she's still waiting for someone who missed the last train. Doors open when no one's there, sounds travel where they shouldn't, and the building just has that look. Medicine Bow's past stacks the odds in favor of ghosts. Cowboys passing through, railroad workers working themselves into the ground, travelers on the Lincoln Highway stopping to rest, and sometimes never leaving. Even the town's most famous export, the Virginian, helped cement Medicine Bow as a place frozen in myth. Medicine Bow and the Virginia Hotel aren't the type of places that will scare you out of your boots, but they will make you uncomfortable.
Oh my God. For me, the creepiest on this list are the town in California where that lake was, but then it became unbalanced and then all the fish died. Because if you go there today, he said that, yeah, there's still lots of like fish that are decomposing on the surface of the water. Like seeing that would just give me the creeps. Imagine walking across a beach and just seeing the entire body of water like littered with dead fish. Oh my God. Absolutely not. It's between that one and the town where the landfill town, where they used it as a landfill, dumping chemicals into the canal, letting families move there and everybody just getting sick. Like there's just something about that just really creeps me out. Obviously, you know, the one with the house where the axe guy went in and did that. Yeah, that's awful. But there's just something really sinister about moving somewhere, having no idea, you know, that the air you breathe is like potentially poisonous. There's just something super creepy about that. Which one was the creepiest for you? Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if you did, check out this video right here and hit the join button below. See you there.